about being cold, you know. So I want to welcome our speakers today, John and Elaine Uznaga. They went on a trip to Antarctica that they will be telling us all about, and also about, they flew into the southern tip of Chile, where they explored that area as well, so they'll be talking about that too. And all the things they saw and got to do, and all of us can think of maybe adding it to our bucket list at some point. I also want to thank this month's sponsor, who's Tammy Schaefer. And so without further ado, I'll turn it over to them.
All right.
Yes, we did. We went to Antarctica and we took the easy way out. Some of you may have heard about crossing the Drake Passage and how awful that is, where the waves can sometimes be 20 to 40 feet and people break bones and all of that. And so that it was a hard no for me to go to Antarctica. And then National Geographic and Lindblad opened up this Fly the Drake Passage. You cut off 4 days of sailing and you don't have to go through that. So I said, that's what we will do. So anyway, this is the start of it. That was our ship. So to get there, we first flew to Santiago and then had an overnight layover. So we were there about getting way early in the morning and got to do something while we're there. So the next one will show us what we saw. We went downtown and it was spring down there, so really pretty. We got to see the cathedral down there, and that was built in that part of it. I think it was the 1700s, but the city of Santiago was founded in the 1500s by some explorer.
Santiago.
I probably should have
made that up.
Go on to the next one. But it was founded right here at this hill, and it was called Santa Lucia Hill. And in the 1800s, they built all these wonderful, wonderful things that you could walk around. And so we walked around. It was a nice, quiet area. That other part, getting there, was kind of scary. It was.
We'll take a cab from
the hotel.
hotel to downtown, and on the cab ride, the driver was telling us, this street you're going to be on, and we don't know any of the street, but he's throwing a name out, and well, this street, be careful on that street. But this street over here is okay. If you go this way,
But don't go back.
you don't got that. Go this way. And it was.
And it was all through Google Translate because we really did not know Spanish, and so he was doing that. We were trying to read in the cab while all that was going on. But anyway, we made it without a little whatever. Ames got walked a couple of times. You wanted to tell?
I mean, so I had, my phone was in my back pocket, and we're walking, and this lady's kind of whacking me with her walking stick, and I'm like, she's talking to me, I don't speak Spanish, so I don't know what's going on. Eventually, Dad translates, and he's like, she's saying take your phone out of your back pocket, because someone's going to take it. Oh, okay. Thanks.
Thanks for whopping me. And so you could climb up to the top of the hill, and that is the panoramic view of what you see. So it's a very mountainous area.
Yeah, and this is kind of in a bowl-like area. There's mountains all around Santiago, so you get to.
Yeah, and there's a mountain range all the way down Chile. It's nothing but a mountain range. So it has all that coastal temperature to it. And so then we got to fly down to Puerto Natales, where we're going to pick up the flight. But we go there a few days early because I don't know if you know anything about that, but another thing that's on my list is Patagonia. And I've always wanted to see those jagged peaks. And I thought, oh, we're going to go. We're going to go do that. By the way, we get there and our room's not ready, but he sends us to this coffee shop, and we find out that this little slip that they put in your passport is very important. After we
Tried to check into our hotel, and the guy is saying, where's that piece of paper? And we're like,
we cleaned up a little bit. I'm like, well, we don't know where something.
I dug through my papers, and there it was. But that thing is required to show that, yes, you're in the country legally, that they can let you rent a room or whatever else you need to do.
Yeah.
So if you don't have that, then your life is more difficult.
Yeah. One of the guys on the ship is out. So anyway, they let him go. Anyway, this was our first hotel. We stayed there a few nights, and it's right on the kind of the water and looking in. It's kind of an inlet, but that was a view when the clouds kind of cleared and the sun was just right. And they had this lovely skate park with all the mountainous views. It was windy there, very, very windy. Their animals have a life of their own. They just kind of live their best life. There's dogs out there just running and
You're walking down the street and there's a dog. And you walk down the street and there's another dog. And sometimes these dogs get into it a little bit, territorial. But mostly they're fine. You just walk around and they'll pet them.
yeah. And so there is, so there was, we found out later cats do it. They have a lovely market and some artwork of the Simpsons and all this. Oh, and then they had black swans there with baby cygnets. I was just so thrilled. I'd never seen a swan live in nature before. So that, and then these other pretty birds. That's a southern lapwing. And that's the road that goes out to Patagonia and the airport too. Yeah. So anyway, there's a big old bus. We rode on a couple of those things. So the place that I wanted to see is called Torres del Paine, and that's known for all those jagged looking peaks. And so here we are. And so this one you can barely see it, but that's a rhea bird. And our tour guide, she was speaking, she'd say it in Spanish and then she'd say it in English, but she had a real heavy accent. So a lot of times we're bouncing along and I'm trying to understand, is she speaking English or is she speaking Spanish? She says, we have three kinds of beards here. We've got the walking beards, and we got the swimming beards, and we got the flying beards. I go, oh, all the light went off and we looked at each other, bird. So here we
So I
are.
saw Rhea beard up there.
So it looks like an ostrich. And then this other little orange blob, she said, oh, that's a puma. I'm going, seriously, that's a puma? But anyway, you zoomed in far enough. It wasn't until Ames got back and showed me her picture. But it's a puma, it's lying down. And she says, those are the rear feet. I kept trying to make those in my mind, the front feet, and I still couldn't see it.
So we're driving down the road, and there are all these cars parked on the side of the road. Everybody's camera's pointing down. Everybody else is seeing the same thing, and they're saying it's very rare that you get to see
There we are, aren't we lucky? And they had, the other wildlife that we saw a lot of were guanacos, which is what the llamas are descended from, or bred from. So, anyway, then we saw these lovely flowers, was spring, trees. And that was our view of the mountains. It was, it was kind of cloudy, and this is what you can kind of see. They say this is what it's supposed to look like there. And go to the next one.
So are you gonna have to go back?
Well, it's debatable. It's a little rough getting over there, and so I'm like, I'm not quite sure that's on in the cards. Okay, and there's that lovely waterfall we did get. Was that the one we got closer to, or?
No.
Okay, never mind.
No.
They have a lot of waterfalls.
She zoomed in on that one with hers, but,
Right. Let's go on to the next.
and so that's her right there. That's,
She had the most lovely photo. She showed me her presentation that she's been doing. I thought, oh.
The
I
clouds
didn't
are
even
moving very fast, and so if you were
Yeah.
just watching just right, you could see like, okay, there's kind of a break in the clouds, I'll take a picture now, and then I enhance it later, like when I got on my computer, so that you can see a little bit more of the mountains.
So a lot of these mountains that we have that look so dramatic, we have zoomed and zoomed and zoomed, and here you are. And that hotel once we finally met up with the rest of the people. And there were a couple of guys that hyped it. And I said, did you get to see? I was real kind of bummed I didn't get to see. Oh, yeah. And so he showed me that picture, and I said, can I take a picture? I said, I'll just send it to you, but you gotta give me photo credit. So this is Mike from Maine. He actually did the hike with his partner, and he saw beautiful things. So anyway. And, okay, so you know around here you have T-Rexes and you've got all those dinosaurs. Their ancient animal was a Mylodon. And it's a sloth-like creature. So if you can imagine, we went to the cave where the bones were found, but if you can imagine that 2,000 years ago, a big old creature moving very slow. Next day, we took a catamaran ride. So we got to see the mountains, and we got to see a different set of wildlife. This one, you look and there's a whole lot of white on the stones, and there's a whole bird colony up there. So you know what the white is. They had a lot of rainbows, so they had a little one, but they had lots and lots of waterfalls, and this was the spectacular area. They had seals up on the cliff too, and those are fur seals. And okay, it was very windy that day, but we'll go ahead and show this thing.
Wow.
And while we were on that one, we get to stop at this little park they had. They had rangers there, but they don't stay there all the time, and the only way to get there is by boat. So I guess we had a reservation. We got to go down there and see that glacier. You could hear it calving sometime.
So there's a little green stick right here. So that is a marker that says in the year 2000, 25 years ago, the glacier came all the way out to here. It's retreated that far since. And while we were there, we saw a little bit of ice
Breaking off
from up here.
way up there.
It was about a 20-minute hike from where we landed the boat to the glacier, and as you're walking along, there are other stakes along. It says in 1980 the glacier was here, 1950 it was here, so you can really see how far it has receded.
I'm so glad you came, because I was oblivious to all of that. It's good to have other people on there. And then the neat part was that we got to go to a lamb farm and have lunch. So we're landing, and then they wait on you, and there's our lamb and some chicken too. And this drink here, Calafate, that's their berry of choice, and so
It's similar
Calafate
to a blueberry. It's kind of a little bit more tart, like blueberry or acai, and it's only found in the Patagonia region of South America, and their whole spiel is if you eat a Calafate berry, then you're destined to return to Patagonia.
Well, I guess we're going back. Well, you are.
No land juice.
Right. Okay. And so here we are. We're already at this.
So now we've kind of gotten through with our pre-trip, our pre-cruise, and now we're getting ready to go on the cruise itself.
Yeah. And so so they take us to another hotel, a very artsy hotel. This one's called Ramota Lodge, and it's not ADA compliant. It's a beautiful piece of artwork. Each room is gorgeous. The halls are gorgeous. They have artifacts everywhere. But anyway, it was a lovely place. That's our key that they gave us.
So we get to the hotel, and one of the things they want to do is have you get ready to leave the next day. So you have to get your boots. We rented some boots. If we take these with us, then it takes up a lot of space in our suitcase. It's a lot of weight, so we didn't want that expense, so we rented the boots. They gave us a parka, so they're giving us all the gear that we're going to need. They're having us make sure it fits. They are telling us tomorrow we do this and that and something else, so that tomorrow morning Your bags are out in the hallway. By this time, you are ready, all suited up, ready to get on the plane and take away the next day. So that's what we're doing the day before we get on cruise.
And so, anyway, internet works best in the lobby. Ames had pictures of how to get to her room, and it was a long walk, black covered walkway,
It's
just
very like Nordic style, like
Yeah.
everything kind of felt very Nordic. There's lots of fjords and similar landscape and geography to what you see in like Norway and stuff, just on the other end of the world.
yeah. Anyway, so this is it kind of made a U shape, but this was the view from, not our, wasn't our room, but from the hallway. And they had little rabbits in there that you could watch. So that was our joy there. Well, now it takes 3 buses to get us all over to the airport for the first flight, per flight.
So they make you wear all this stuff because when you get off the plane on the other end, you're outside, you're in Antarctica on the peninsula. It's cold there. You're going to be getting onto a Zodiac. You're going to be going across the water to get on the ship. And so you need all of your cold weather gear on before you can even get on the ship.
And another reason is that they have these very tight weight limits. When they say you get a carry-on, you get 2 carry-ons. One carry-on is 6 pounds, the other carry-on is 11 pounds. So that doesn't leave a whole lot. That includes the weight of whatever you're taking. And they have to be little bitty. You're not taking the carry-ons that we think of that you can pack and stick up there. They are this big, and that's it. So anyway, you're wearing all your stuff.
Of course, the stuff you're wearing doesn't count to your weight limit.
Yeah.
So that's why you wear your boots. That's why you wear your jacket, because
Yeah. And so that's our airplane. They call it the Penguin airplane. It took 2 airplanes to get us all down there. So, and it's about a 2.5-hour flight, 2-hour flight, something. But they gave us a lunch. No, it wasn't Penguin. It was something else. So this is the Drake Passage here. And we are flying right into this little island here called King George. And that's where we get on our ship.
so we're going to get on the ship here. We're going to sail across this part, and we go looking at stuff here, and then we come back.
So, anyway.
Well, you said it took 2 airplanes to get all of you. How many?
That's 75
Per plane.
per plane. Actually, the number of people who are that are passengers is 148. That's the most that ship will take for passengers. And we had a little bit less than that because your roommate didn't show up, which worked in her favor, but that's another story. We'll tell that in a moment.
But Antarctica also has very strict regulations for tourism, and so there's only a limited amount of people on the ship so that we could land. If there's more than 500 people on the ship, then the ship can't even land in Antarctica. You can only be cruising by, and that includes staff. So that's why we had only 140-something
Yeah.
people on the ship.
And each of our excursions were split in half, where the first half, we divided up into groups. And so the first half would go out and do this part, while the other one did that, then we'd swap. Because if it involved a landing, you could not have more than 100 people, including staff, wherever you landed. So, anyway, but this is the Chilean
Research.
base.
So we're flying overhead, and we're about to land here, and we see some people here outside this building. I didn't really notice them too much when we first got there, but that's going to be us at the end of the trip.
Yeah, it's a holding pen.
These guys actually came down, they crossed the Drake Passage on the ship. They've done their tour, now they're heading back. But to head back, they need a plane. We're their plane. We're in the plane they're going to take back. So we'll see us here at the end of the trip.
Yeah, there's no wasted time. Wasted.
Well, if you had all your gear on the plane, was everybody taking it off during the 2.5 hours?
No, yeah, well, maybe the jacket and maybe the boots, but I just kept mine on because I just didn't want to deal with it, so anyway.
So we'd just gotten off of the plane, they bus us down to here, and they put us on these little Zodiacs to take us to the ship.
Yeah, and we have to get these life jackets on, so they got little carpets for all your little purses and stuff, because you are not gonna touch any, you're not gonna bring in any, bacteria or any germs or anything.
Or seeds, or
Seed,
dirt,
yeah.
or whatever.
There was that inspection back at the hotel to make sure all your boots and anything that was gonna touch the ground didn't have any seeds or mud on it, and you had to get them off and then cleaned, so that you didn't introduce anything to this pristine area. So anyway, we made it back, we're on here, and we're going to our room. So this is we've overnighted, and this is our first morning, our first excursion, and penguins. These are Gen 2 penguins, you'll know, because they have the little eyes, the white eye.
Headphones is what,
Headphones?
they call them headphones.
Oh, okay, I'm glad you paid attention. Next, and then we saw a lot of ice, that blue ice, so many pictures. We called them out and only gave you a couple. This is a good little video. What you're doing is you're looking down from the top of the bow of the ship as it's going.
So this ship is an icebreaker kind of ship. In the past, they have rammed the ship into the ice, the sea ice, and you just walk out of the ship onto the ice. But there was really no sea ice there this time, because it was warmer than usual for the winter time. And so we couldn't walk off the ship like we would have expected to. But that thing is strong enough to plow through it.
Yeah, we were, I forgot where I'm going. Phew, all right. That's one of the glaciers we saw. Oh, we heard a lot, that sound of the ice breaking. We woke up one morning and I just kept hearing it, and I thought, well, that means they're dropping anchor. And I think it's 3 in the morning, they're not dropping anchor or nothing. And then we found out they were busted running into the icebergs. But anyway, a lot of the places we stopped were former whaling stations, because that was a big deal in the 1800s and early 1900s. They needed the oil from the whales and the bone and all of that for everything they did. And this is the bones of a little bitty ship that was there. It was interesting when you left that area, they said look down, and you could look down and you could see all the white. And I said, he goes, guess what that is? Is that whale bones? He goes, yeah. So all the whales that were killed there, the bones were still down there. Okay, so here's another video. This is us getting back to the ship at some point.
So we're on what's called a Zodiac. It's an inflatable boat, and they're small enough that they can go through it without a problem.
That's our ship. Right.
There was a photo locker on board. National Geographic has photo lockers where you can rent equipment, and I'm really into photography, and everything's so far away. I'm like, I want to see if I can get like a nice zoom lens or something. And so we run into the photo instructor like day one, we're chatting, and then at lunchtime she sits down with us, and I'm like, so if I do want to rent a camera, who do I talk to? She's like, me. Do you want to do that? I'm like, yeah. She said, okay, give me about 30 minutes and meet me up in the library. And so I had to rent the whole camera and everything, since it's a proprietary system that I don't own, like anything that would work with that. But I had 2 cameras the whole trip, and it was pretty cool to be able to use a super zoom along with my regular zoom.
Yeah.
So she has a Canon camera, and this is a Sony camera.
Olympus.
Yeah.
Olympus.
It's not, yeah, it's Olympus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If it was Sony, it would have been better.
It didn't cost. It didn't cost anything to rent it.
It didn't, but it was if you break it, you buy it. So good
No
incentive
pressure.
to not break it.
Yeah.
So everywhere she went, she had 2 cameras with her.
Yeah, everybody thought she was part of the staff too. And it worked in her favor. We'll see that later. So ice. They say you come for the penguins, and you come back to see the ice. It was ever-changing and just phenomenal. So pristine and quiet when you get there. If the wind's not blowing and you're not near a penguin colony and the whales aren't outside, there is no sound. It's just amazing.
What about, were you comfortable in the Zodiac? I mean, did you have on enough?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, it was kind of warm for me. They have it so that you could stay out there in minus 40 degrees, and it was only 30 degrees. And if the sun was shining, it was too much. But you can't put it on the ground. So here you are with all your stuff. If you're smart enough, but you don't know, because you're not going back to go get it and then come back. So you have it with you and you just deal with it.
Well, if you're in the Zodiac and say the whales are out, is it an issue for you in the boat?
The whales were never that close to us. We saw them from the ship.
Okay.
I don't.
But where the landings were at, we're going with the Zodiac, it's a little bit shallow for whales. So it wasn't an issue on the Zodiacs. But when we were going from landing to landing, then we would see whales from the ship.
Right. When we went on the same ship in Alaska, and we were on Zodiacs, and yes, you got a little bit nearer to the whales, and you could see them, but you always kept a distance.
Well, I started saying,
You're
I'm
never
thinking
gonna-
danger.
Nah, it wasn't that bad. They don't come under you.
Okay.
No. Well, you see those on Instagram, but don't think about those.
That's the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
Elaine, what type of whales?
There were humpbacks, there were
Minkies.
orcas, minkies,
Yeah.
and right whales too.
I think so.
I didn't see the minkies, orcas, or right whales. I just pretty much did the humpbacks because they were calling you up from your room, and I'm thinking, all right, I already seen those kind, not getting dressed. I get dressed, you gotta get suited up, I haven't put on all the gear, and you're like, mm. But people were so friendly. Those that found us found them and saw them, and they wanted one of my pictures. So I said, oh, I'll send you all these other photos. So anyway, we got all the photos. So anyway, they had talks in between the outings that we had, and this guy is Fede, and he talked about the size of Antarctica, and you can see that the U.S. fits in there very nicely. So,
And it's all ice.
yeah. So, anyway, that was amazing. And like the first day, we were just going up doing, do you remember?
Sierra Cove, we
Oh, yeah.
did a cruise. So
Yeah.
the first day we had Penguin Colony landing, and then we just kind of cruised through to see a little bit of the wilderness.
And we just kept getting closer and closer to that glaciers, and there's so many of them there that they're not even named, so that was really breathtaking for me. And we had talks. We had a dive team, and these are some of the things that are living underneath the water. So it is colorful if you go down there. Nice and see it.
How long can the ice team be down?
Whatever their oxygen level lets you do. They're in wetsuits, so they're used to it. And it was
I think it's a regular snorkeling, a trip, not snorkeling, but diving trip.
Yeah.
So whatever a standard diver could do, they could do as long as they don't get too cold or something.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was wondering about.
But they wear the gear to keep them, they wear dry suits.
They're
So they don't get wet.
professionals.
Yeah.
They didn't say how long they were down there, but they did show a picture of one of the divers, and she was very red in the face, so I would assume not
Yeah.
more than 20, 30 minutes at a time.
I was just wondering how cold it was in the water.
The water was about 20 degrees Celsius.
It's gotta be warmer than zero.
Not so.
No,
Celsius.
it's salt water, so it was just
Yeah.
below freezing.
Yeah.
Or because we did the polar plunge, it was -1 degree Celsius.
Okay.
Because salt water
Yes.
has the melting points are different,
Yeah.
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 Okay.
So it's just below freezing.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Now, you tell them what kind of ice that is, because I've been telling people it's not a growler.
So the ice, there's names for snow, for the different sizes of ice, there are a lot of different names. And so there's the icebergs, which are big bergs. There's growlers, which are about the size of a piano. Anything smaller than a growler is going to be called a Bergie bit, and that is the science name. It's called Bergie bit. So my tour guide on this particular day fished out a little piece, and we got to pass it around. She said, "You can lick it if you want." And so I licked it. And it tasted a little bit of salt water, but it is fresh water.
So are those names, are they Spanish names? I mean,
No,
These are,
it's just for the sizes of the ice. There's different ways to categorize. So if you say, like, I saw a growler, you know it's about this size.
Yeah.
okay, penguins. There was, I guess the next day you got to go
Yeah.
on photography Zodiac tours and others like.
So we're
you
just,
got
we're just
to go
cruising
on-
around in the Zodiac, and our guide is a naturalist, and he'll take us, wherever the wind blows, He picks a place and we go there because other Zodiacs are going over that way. And we cross somewhere in the middle, and while we're out there, we see the penguins running around.
Yeah,
Pretty cool to see them.
yeah, and they call them when they swim in the water, it's porpoising, and we'll see that. There is. Checking to see if there's anything worth eating.
So like moves do this too, the guillemots, they look down in the water and see if it's worth diving for.
And there they are, there's a whole group of them doing that.
What's a
And then
group
the
called?
ice is just spectacular.
What's a group of penguins called?
Those were Gen 2s.
No, I'm saying,
So
they're not a school, they're not a.
In that situation, they called them rafts of penguins because they kind of form a raft. They didn't give us a name for other groups other than like colonies when they're breeding.
So, all different kinds of ice. They even had contests. So what does this look like to you? And,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, they had you submit for a contest kind of a thing. Take pictures of ice, give it a name, and then submit it to our contest, and we'll show some of the best pictures.
I took the pictures, but I was exhausted at that point and didn't turn any in. You, however, turned in
Yeah.
3.
No, I had 2 because they said 2 per person.
Oh, okay.
Other people are just using my ring number.
Okay. That's right.
is this one of yours?
No, none of my pictures are on this slideshow.
Yeah, she has her own slideshow, and we saw it last night, and it was wonderful. I like a lot of her photos,
3 times longer than this one.
better than mine. I didn't think you'd want to stay here for 4 hours. We're just gonna stay with this one. Okay. Next. Oh,
But
you want to talk
But
about the
this
layers?
shows over time, as the snow lands on the ground, over time it compresses as more snow goes on top of it. So it compresses into layers that you can see there, and then later on it turns into solid ice. And so this is some of the layers on some of the more recent snowfalls on top of a glacier.
Yeah, and they're breaking free, so you see all different phases of the ice.
Do they have avalanches in Antarctica? I mean, does the ice ever get away?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
oh, yeah, all the time,
Ice is always calving off the front of the glacier.
yeah,
And we saw it while we were there.
yeah,
She was out running around on a kayak,
yeah.
and we were out running around on a Zodiac, and off in the distance we hear it sound like a gunshot, and then you can see the stuff falling off the face of the
Yeah.
glacier.
Yeah, it's funny because, well, we'll talk about this. This is what a glacier looks like after it's rolled. That means all those little pitted marks were on the bottom. Yeah,
We're underwater at one point.
yeah.
So when you go back one, you see the face is smooth here. This part has not been underwater. This part has not been underwater either, because it's not smoothed out. This one here it's
Yeah.
kind of like a golf ball, kind of sort of. So that's been underwater.
It flipped. In fact, there was one of the stops we were at, I could see it. The ship was way over there, and I saw a whole, one of those icebergs going back and forth. I thought, did it just roll? You know, and
It did.
it did, so we got to see.
And that's why they don't want you to get too close to it,
Yeah.
because sometimes a chunk of the ice this thing splits in 2 pieces, and when it does that, it's got to find a new center of balance, and so it rolls back and forth. And there's 10% above the water, 90% below the water, so if there's a big chunk down there, it may come up and whack you.
Yeah. And it does cause a wave pattern. Let's move on to the next. So, I was one of the ones that went out
On the
kayaking, and we were like the last group. And when they were taking off, it was so windy, and trying to keep up with the ship was a lot of work. But sometime when I was out there, it just calmed down. And me and my partner were like, I said, we don't have to work anymore. We can just stay here. The ship's, so we just stopped. And then we heard that gunshot, and we're like, okay, something's going to happen. So we aimed ourselves right in front of the glacier, and sure enough, we could see it come down and see all the little, looked like smoke popping up afterwards. Nobody else seemed to see that. Oh, there it is. There's the, he was in the Zodiac. He caught it. That is way zoomed in. But after, when it calves, it kind of leaves all this little bits of ice floating, and it came right at us in our raft, and I was like, oh, come on, let's go over there. So we went over there, and we told a naturalist, and they're like, you shouldn't have done that.
You're too close to it.
You're too close.
Something might drop off on you. And I kept waiting for this part here to fall off, but it never did. But that's the splash that whatever fell in made.
Yeah, so always happy. So the big thing on this trip was people, this is their 7th continent. And so they make a big production. So everyone, if that is their 7th continent, come on out, we're getting a photo, or if you just want an individual photo with the sign that says 7th continent, you can. And so I didn't know that was a thing, and I was talking to the lady who was doing our Zodiac, pretty sure she's from Australia, and I said, well, I feel bad, this is only my 5th continent. And she goes, well, this is hers, that she said, the only one I have left. I said, what is it? She said, America, North America. And I thought, well, when you do that, I said, you can stop by our house and I will make you a sign in glitter that says 7th continent. So anyway, that was fun. Oh, here's a fun little thing. This is called the Penguin Highway. We were not to get anywhere near it or walk on it, but you don't have to start that. Pass on the right. See how filthy they are? They'll go in the water and they'll be pristine once they get in there. See, they're all cleaned off now. So it's gorgeous. Oh, so we didn't see eggs or babies, but we saw them fighting over rocks and stealing rocks. I guess they're trying to steal the rocks. And
Why are they important?
that's their nest. So that's what they're doing. They're building the nest. And if it's snow all around, you can't hardly see the rocks. So some of them were going quite a long ways to go get their little rock. Do we have that one? This guy over here on the left, he was got it down at the beach and was hauling it up to the top of the hill. So we saw 3 kinds of penguins: the gentoo, the chinstrap. You can see he's got a little line there, and the Adelie. I mean, we only saw one, or rather, John only saw one. We heard about it and saw pictures. And so that's how we got to and from. We walked up. The thing is, when you walked, they had these little cones, and you were to stay on this path because someone had gone there and decided that was the best path. If you get off just a little bit, your foot has gone into the snow and slush about a foot down. But you can't leave that there. You have to fill it in, because if a penguin gets in it, they're gone.
They can't pull
get
themselves out.
So anyway, that was part of our exercise program. And you were allowed to go into the bridge, which I appreciated. Because early in the morning, breakfast is until 7:30, and I get up early and I get coffee, and there it is, the free coffee in the charter. But early in the morning, I saw my first fur seal. You've already seen them in other areas, but I saw it and I didn't know what kind of seal it was because they weren't supposed to be here. They were all supposed to be in South Georgia. They come later in the season. And so I took a picture of it, ran up here because there's usually a naturalist inside that will tell you. And they said, yeah, that's the first seal. He said, that's the first one I've seen. So I thought, score. But then we ended up seeing more that day. So there you are. He wasn't the first. But that was my early morning routine. Get up and just look at things in awe.
There's ice everywhere.
Yeah.
You just wait, and you go to the other side of that iceberg, and it looks completely different.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
And penguins, ice and penguins, there we are.
So backing up one, this guy on the left side in green, he's one of the naturalists on our ship. They went with you on the shore, and if you had questions, you ask them something, they can tell you. They're here and there and somewhere else, all along the path that we're taking. They're on the Zodiacs driving you to and from the ship. They're at the meals. They're sitting at the tables that you're sitting at. You can ask them questions. They're in the library. I mean, they're available. So if you want to ask them a question, you can.
How do you recognize them?
Oh, you get to know them after a while.
Oh, they-
They don't all wear green shirts.
No.
No, in fact, they run a real tight ship and they eat with us too. And so we got to know a few of them because they had to hurry up, sit down and then run out. The guy I went and asked about the seal that morning, he said, let's go get breakfast. I said, okay. So we ran and got breakfast and he had to run off and do something else. So anyway, supposed to be staying 15 feet away from the penguins at all times.
Did they tell you these things like staying on the path and staying away from the
Right.
penguin highways? Was that like the day before you were going to have that particular adventure? They tell you these things?
They tell you, and they tell you again when you don't obey.
Yeah.
And sometimes when that penguin is walking right at you and you're on the Zodiac and you're like, well, let them go first. So it's a constant reminder.
Well, when we got to the hotel in Patagonia, we had some videos that we had to watch, and one of them was wildlife interactions. And so we knew before we even went to Antarctica, hey, you gotta stay at least 15 feet away from penguins. And of course, you land and then they're telling you this always, but it was made very clear before we even got on the ship, like, hey, you gotta stay away.
And part of that is to not induce any stress into the penguins, because as you're walking, if they're walking towards you, they'll stop. And what do I do about you? Why are you here? You know, are you gonna eat me? Are you gonna leave me alone? And so the closer you are to them, the more you stress them. And our whole goal here was not to stress them. That's why they were stressing to us, stay away from them. If they're coming towards you, just stay put. Don't do anything that's going to cause them stress.
So, and then, like you said, you get off that Zodiac and there they are. And, well, they say wait for them to leave. And so that's what we did sometimes. Sometimes we walk around. But that is one of the colonies we went to. It's loud and it smells. So try to stay upwind from it if you can. And we did see seals. Of course, the fur seal is the only seal that can lift itself up. So all these other ones look like they're sleeping or dead. So the leopard, that's a leopard seal. I posted some of these pictures on Facebook and somebody said, is that seal dead? Oh my God, it's all right. What was the other kind of seal?
We also
Reindeer.
saw reindeer and Waddell.
Waddell. Okay, yeah, those are the big fat ones. Okay, more ice and more icicles.
Wow, let's go look at that. It's like an art object.
And birds, there were some birds on that trip. There's a gull every now and then, not nearly like the seagulls in Texas where they're all over, but occasionally you'd see one. They had Antarctic terns, and they had Arctic terns, and because when we were in Iceland, we saw the Arctic tern, and I said, do you have any? I said, well, that one's one right there. I thought that is one heck of a migration to go from the North Pole to the South Pole, but that's probably the farthest migration there is. But these, you could tell they were Antarctic because of the orange beaks, and they were breeding, so. And so after that, we have a hot chocolate break.
I like that.
I know, isn't that neat, kind of Viking-like, coming all the way south, but you had your choice of whiskey or bourbon?
Bailey's peppermint schnapps, whiskey, or no alcohol.
No alcohol, yeah, so that was fun,
But most people don't know it's coming, we didn't.
yeah.
We're out there, tootling along on our Zodiac, and all of a sudden, you notice this other Zodiac over there. What are those guys doing? You're about to get a drink, celebrating.
So when you got to, backing up a day, when you were on that, your seventh continent, after your Zodiac ride out, where you actually got to land on the continent itself, they had champagne, just like that. Lots of celebration. Okay, this is Deception Island. Did any of you know that they have an active volcano over there? Well, this is it. So this is, it's in a caldera. Looks like it's in a caldera. So we are entering it now. And surprised there is a whaling station there, or used to be.
Did you say it was active?
Yes.
Yes,
The last
the-
eruption was in the 70s.
73, that's what closed down the last whaling operation.
No, it closed before that. It was just after the war. It was
Okay.
like 40s and 50s.
Okay. So this is where the chin strap, that's the only chin strap colony I saw. The rest were individual chin straps that showed up. So anyway. So that's it. You can walk, we got to walk around the buildings and see things, the ruins. So you can see the steam coming up.
Oh.
And that steam actually kills the krill. So there were just bunches, and the penguins don't eat the cooked shrimps or the cooked krill, so anyway, there they are. It was
So-
warm though.
Yeah, we talked about a polar plunge. Can we do one here?
Because the water was around 40 degrees here, so it's much warmer in here. They are monitoring the seismic activity to make sure that it is safe to land.
And the interesting part, we talked about not stressing out the penguins. You had a certain time window where ships were allowed to go in there and when they were not, just to de-stress the penguins.
Well, did you find out who or what, shall we say, eat the krill, the cooked krill?
Oh, I don't know that anything
I
did.
didn't hear anything did. Everything wants it live out in the ocean.
That's what
So
they know.
cooked to them is an unknown thing. They don't know what it is.
So anyway, that was I loved looking at all these old buildings, but this one was the Zodiac. I actually got a picture of the chin straps doing things. So this was also on there. They called it an ice boat, and they would take that out to the end of the glacier, get chunks of ice, and that's where they got the water from for the whole operation. Okay, so when we get back on board, and then we're gonna go aim into the polar plunge area, they, all of a sudden there's whales as far as you can see, and so they just stop and let us look. They also take off the stabilizers, so you're kind of having a mess, but this was my favorite video, the whole thing. You can see penguins are out there, and then all these humpbacks.
Are they feeding at this time? Is that what the reason they're
Yes.
all
Yeah, could be.
ungated?
The krill.
Krill, yeah.
And I don't know what else is down there, did you?
Krill is
Just
it feeds like 90% of the population.
Yeah. Yeah, when I heard about that I quit taking krill. We were taking away the food for these animals. Okay, so now we're getting to this most magnificent glacier and the sun's shining, and this is going to be the backdrop for the polar plunge. And you want to tell how you got to shoot that?
So there was a National Geographic photographer on board with us. I kind of talked with her, made a relationship, and I'm saying, hey, I want to get into photography. And one of the other people on board, I think it was the doctor, was like, yeah, she's been shooting the polar plunge and like the other trips that we've gone on. And I'm like, well, how do I do that? I don't know, just talk to her. So I go and I talk to her and I'm like, can I photograph this with you? And she's like, well, let me ask the expedition leader and make sure it's okay. And then she comes back a couple hours later and she's like, yep, you can shoot it. And so I got to be on the boat with her.
Yeah,
It's like, so there's the Zodiac that was kind of further away. We were all wearing something. They were like, do you want the blue wig or the Santa hat? I'll take the Santa hat. All just kind of dressed up. And yeah, I got to shoot with a National Geographic photographer and capture a lot of fun pictures of everybody jumping in -1 degree water.
It happened so fast. All the people, about a third of the passengers did it, 52 or something of them said they wanted to do it. And a lot of them said it wasn't bad. They've done it in other areas and this was not bad at all. Of course, you were down and you're up. This is the diver. He's got his wetsuit on with his flippers and they all have paddles and they're ready to grab you and go get you, but everyone found their way in and out. The more brave ones swam all the way to there.
That was the crew.
Oh,
So the crew would jump in, swim, touch the Zodiac, and come back. But the other passengers, you were just in and out, and that's why it wasn't so bad, is because you weren't in there long enough to really drop your body temperature.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like they're actually jumping in, it looks like there's somebody's throwing them in.
This is our expedition leader, so he's had a lot of
And
experience.
you can bounce off in front of that Zodiac too.
Yeah. And there were some that just went to the edge and crawled and touched the feet and then went in like that. Give me the paddle. So anyway, now we're coming back and we're in a holding pen. Like I said, they turned the whole, they had 4 hours to get that ship ready for the next group. So they put us into the lounge and maybe you could go up to the library too and hang out. And then when the plane started taking off, they said, okay, when they're at a certain point, then they load us up into Zodiacs. And the people that are on that first plane, they get them all here, they put us all in this other little holding pen with some food, and then we swap places. The bus goes and gets the people from the plane, take them over here, then we take the bus to the plane. So,
Yeah,
Is-
yeah, go ahead.
Is there a dry season for the Arctic?
I think summer is kind of the dry season. Like you get a little bit of snow, but most of the snow happens during the winter
yeah,
or our summer. So it's going into winter there now.
right. It's a,
But on the return, did you go back to Patagonia or where did you stop
Yeah.
on your way back?
Puerto Natales, Santiago, and then back up. But we were sitting there, well, we'll get to the next one. So anyway, this is the airplane as it's coming in. There we are, so we're ready. I think that's it, so that's all, but. Yeah, so we went back to Puerto Natales and stayed another night there. And then we took our flight out to wherever you were going, and we all happened to be going to.
We went back to Santiago, but there were issues when we landed in Puerto Natales. I was getting notifications that, hey, your flight's delayed, so I was going to miss my connecting flight to Denver. So that was a whole ordeal of trying to get to the airport once we were in Santiago to get the flights right. You guys, your flight
We
was
waited
like
too
12
long.
hours.
Who knew that you were supposed to respond? What do you want to do? You want this flight or do you want that? And she was not given a choice. It said, here's your new flight, and you're going to Florida. Well, okay, so we, old school that we are, we want to talk to a person. Well, by that time, there are no flights to get out. We are going to spend the night. I said, well, we're going to spend the night at the hotel that we stayed before. Well, there are no rooms, imagine that. So then we're like, okay, where are we going to go? And as we're in the eating dinner at 9 o'clock at night trying to figure out where are we going, and some guy was telling us somewhere, because that's a good place. I said, just book it before we even get on. I don't even know how to get there yet, but then we did it, we got it, we got to stay there for a couple hours before we had to be back at the airport at 3 in the morning so we could take a flight. But the neat part was that flight was empty. And so we went up and we said, what do we wanted an upgrade, because he put us out. She said, I can give you a whole row. I said, that would help. When we came in, you think economy, well, I've never been in an economy seat that was so tight on the way down. I'm only 5'2", if I'm lucky on a good day, and there was that much space for my knees. So imagine a 6'4" person. But anyway, they gave us a whole nother row up over here, and suddenly there's that much space. And I'm going, well, that's our space. Nobody's sitting there. But anyway, we could lie down if we needed to, and it was a good thing. So
Much nicer than being, all the other flights that were taking passengers off of our plane, the delayed one, they were all packed because everybody was needing somewhere to go. Nobody was on our flight, so we were good.
So it was good, yeah. The hard part was that when we left, that's when that whole, the traffic control guys were not there. And so you're leaving at night, we were on the plane, and it was taking forever to get out. It took another hour to get out of there because they had one traffic control person working it. And we're like, okay, we're gonna get there eventually. We did, so it worked out all right. Yeah. So would I do it again? Not tomorrow.
The hardest part there was every morning you had to suit up. Put on your layers, put on some windproof pants, boots.
Waterproof.
And it was like, do I have to dress up? If you want to go outside and see anything, yes.
I say it's worth it. I mean, it was worth going down there. It was a little bit rough. It would have helped if you knew, if you're going through Santiago or anywhere in Argentina, it would help to know Spanish or bring somebody who knows Spanish fluently or get your app working so you can communicate better. But it was a good trip. So, thanks. Yeah.
One more question.
Okay.
Was this National Geographic, Lindblad Tours, and why the two?
Lindblad handles all of National Geographic boats, or ships.
And
The
National
other-
Geographic has the naturalists and...
Right, they provide the naturalists, the rest is all Lindblad, usually just one Nat Geo person, and they give talks about what they have done. And
Basically, Lindblad says, here's our itinerary, this is what we want to do, and National Geographic says, okay, you've got our stamp of approval, you can use our licensing.
yeah, and National Geographic has a lot of other tours, land-based tours that you could go on.
Have you been on any of the...
Oh, yeah. So,
We liked the small ship. The big ship, there was some big ships down there, but they, like she was saying, they can't land because there's too many people. And so for us, we are able to land. The last time we took a big cruise ship was to Alaska, and there was way too many people in port. We were just, we were sardines. We didn't like that. So we like the small ships, which is why we love them.
What about
same, yeah, we've gone on them like 4 times, I'm glad, and other places.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Let's see, well, next month's speaker is going to be Rebecca Rowe. She's from East Texas A&M, and she's going to be talking about the history of Disney. And we also have our murder mystery game coming up on April 25th, so if you want tickets for that, we're selling them as well. We have a genealogy workshop on the 18th here from 10 to 12. and enjoy. Everybody have a good day.
What is the genealogy?
10 to 12. On the- For here, yeah.
You sign up,
No, just come, come go on your own kind of thing, and we have some people, way more expert than me, so that'll be helping people out.